I'm a big Microsoft Surface fan, but it wasn't until recently that I was able to check out the Surface headphones. They offer similar features to some of the other products on the market from Bose, Sony, and Apple, but they also offer some unique features that those competitors don't. And I was interested in trying them out to see if they are worth it. So without any further ado, this is NOISO, and this is the Microsoft Surface headphones review. Let's start off by talking about the design, which might be a little bit polarizing. I personally like the light gray color scheme that these take on, which mirrors a lot of the Surface devices that I already have around the house. Now, a lot of people might prefer some of the new color options that are offered in the Surface headphones too, that mirror the reds, blacks, and blues that you'd get in newer Surface products, but the gray is just fine for me. In terms of durability, the soft touch plastic on these has held up just fine over the last few months of use. But in longer periods of time, I'm not so sure about it considering they already have started to creak a little bit. I don't see a lot of difference between the design of these and the newer Sony and Bose headphones, but obviously you're not getting quite the robustness that you get with the AirPods Max. Now, the design in terms of fit on your head is a little bit odd, and that's what I think might be a little bit more polarizing. More so than many other headphones, the Surface headphones have a tendency to stick out from your ears in this cone shape that might be a little bit difficult for some people to stomach. For me, it's perfectly fine as far as keeping them around home or wearing them in the office, but I would feel a little bit awkward if I was walking around campus or riding with these on the bus. Now, generally you can get over it. Most people will get over the design of your headphones. They're just a little bit goofy looking compared to some more muted headphones that are out there. For comfort, the Surface headphones have these big squishy ear cups that could last on my head for really long periods of time, and I didn't notice over the few months that I used them any sort of morphing or sticking or shrinking that I've noticed on the QC35s that I also own. That's great, and I think also replacements might be a little bit more hard to come by versus the QC35s. So I appreciate the fact that they've stood up. Over longer periods of time, I do notice these getting a little bit warm, and that's partly because of how much they actually surround your ear and enclose your ear. Now, that really contributes to the noise isolation that you get with these that we'll talk about a little bit later. But generally, it's up to you whether that makes sense. Now, the clamping force is enough for me such that there's not a lot of weight actually sitting on the band. So despite the band not having a whole bunch of cushioning, I haven't noticed a lot of pressure on the top of my head, but the clamping force is also significantly less than that I had experienced on the AirPods Max, which was one of my biggest problems with those. All in all, I think I could manage wearing these for a few hours on end, if not an entire workday, just because of the heat problem. In terms of audio quality, I'm not an audiophile, but I found that the Surface headphones were absolutely great for me. Now, I typically can't tell the difference between really good headphones and just good headphones, but that wasn't a big problem for me as far as the Surface headphones go. They are more than good enough for, I think, most people. Now, I will say that they're a little bit heavy in terms of bass, but thankfully that could be easily solved by going in the app and changing the equalizer a little bit, which is what I did quite immediately. I would love to see that feature on other premium headphones like, say, those from Apple. That extra bass kick also came in handy when watching shows and movies on these, which was a great experience. Now, there's none of the extra additional features like the 3D or spatial audio that you might get on some newer headphones, but that wasn't too big of a deal for me, and I don't think it's going to be a deal for most people. What truly sets the Surface headphones apart are the controls. Now, play, pause, skip track, and previous track are all handled via touch gestures on the surface of the Surface headphones, which is pretty standard with some other headphones. But what really sets the Surface headphones apart are the rotating dials. Now, starting with the touch gestures, they are pretty bad. Now, I was fine with play, pause, and next track. And generally that's the same sort of interaction, single tap, double tap that you might experience on most other headphones. Where it really became frustrating for me is a couple reasons. Now, first of all, the touch surface isn't the entire circular surface that you would see here. Instead, it's a little bit smaller. And so on my ears, I can't always find exactly where it lies. And so quite often when I touched it, I didn't know whether I touched it properly or not, because the other issue lied in the fact that both a play and a pause sound and skipping track or reverse track all gives you a single noise audio feedback. So it's just a single ding, And so I'm not sure whether it registered a double tap for fast forward or a triple tap for previous. And generally, I think that's a pretty small UX feature that would come in handy. Now the dials, on the other hand, they're great. I feel like Panos Panay just randomly wakes up in the middle of the night with some new hardware design idea to update the newest Surface. It started with kickstands and then it moved to these weird hinges and now it's dials. And I feel like that's kind of how they craft Surface products, around these unique design aspects. I guess there was also the Alcantara wrist rest, which was significantly different than anything else on the market. The dial on the right side controls volume levels, which makes perfect sense because it's easy to control both drastic changes in volume and more precise changes in volume pretty easily. I feel like most analog controls should be handled with something like a dial. Now, the dial on the other side actually controls noise cancellation and audio pass-through. And your first reaction might be, well, great, if they have the same number of changes to noise cancellation as Sony, all 50 or 20 or however many there are, then that makes sense. But unfortunately, there are only 3 different levels of noise cancellation and 1 level of audio pass-through, which means that even though you are basically rotating this dial, you're only controlling between 4 different settings. Now, frankly, I can't really hear the difference between the lowest and the medium setting of noise cancellation. So in reality, I'm only controlling 3 different levels, which doesn't seem to really take advantage of this nifty dial. I wish there was some sort of audio feedback that told me you're now on low, you're now on medium, now on high. It seems to be like an obvious sort of feature, but again, it's missing from this. Now, that's not to say that noise cancellation on these headphones is not good, because it is very good. I was very impressed with how much noise really was just completely isolated from the room. Now, part of this might come from those super dense, soft, squishy ear cups that, keep it connected to your head so well. But in addition, I think Microsoft is doing a lot of positive things, or is doing a lot of positive calculations in order to get the noise cancellation just to be so competitive. Even on a first generation product, I was really impressed how well these stand up to the top level from Bose, Sony, and even Apple. Now, I noticed there were a lot of times that I actually couldn't hear conversations going on around me because I had max noise cancellation turned on, which would make these perfect for things like flights. I haven't been able to test these side by side, but generally these should be good enough for most people. I occasionally experienced a little bit of bugginess where the noise cancellation would turn off in a single ear and still be working in the other ear, but it was infrequent enough to not really bother me. The other premium feature that I'll call out is similar to other premium headphones. You get autoplay pause, which means when you take the headphones off, it automatically pauses whatever you're listening to. Now, before getting to my final conclusion, there's one other thing that I'd like to talk about. You see, on the first day, I connected my Surface headphones to both my phone and my computer, and during that first day and for the several days afterwards, it worked pretty impressively well. There wasn't a lot of issues with switching between devices, and I wouldn't need to force the connection between each device. Until a couple of days in, where even though the Surface headphones were connected to both devices, unfortunately playing audio on either device would just result in absolutely nothing happening in the Surface headphones themselves. Both devices would say that they're connected and playing and routing audio through the Surface headphones, but for some reason, just nothing happens. And even when I pressed play or pause on the Surface headphones, the devices were still getting that signal and and actually playing and pausing, but I don't know exactly what's happening. I followed up with Microsoft to see if they have any sort of comments or if they are able to fix it, because thankfully these are still under warranty. And I'll let you guys know down in the comments with a pinned comment if the situation changes. The only other issue that I had with these is there was a weird sort of rattling sound that was happening in the right ear cup when I tilted my head forward or backwards. And again, this is probably just a QA issue, so hopefully Microsoft is able to solve the problem. For the audio issue, unfortunately, my best solution was just disconnecting this from one of the 2 devices and only using it with a single device, which was fine, but unfortunately it kind of gets rid of a relatively key feature of premium headphones of multi-device connection. Now, in terms of the bottom line, I was really impressed with the Surface headphones, and as a first generation product, they are very impressive. Now, Some might actually call these closer to a beta product, but I'd say that these have significantly more polish than most other first generation products from other companies. But let's keep in mind that Microsoft has been making hardware for nearly a decade now, and so it shouldn't be a complete surprise. I wish Microsoft was able to iron out some of the bugs and frustrations that I have and make the general user experience better. And I'm curious to see whether in the Surface Headphones 2 that's the case. But here's the kicker. Due to some deep discounts, I was able to find the Surface headphones for less than $100 brand new, which is an absolutely ludicrous price for something with this sort of quality and feature set. I am unable to find anything in the market that are quite as comparable and quite as high quality as the Surface headphones for less than $100. So if you are able to do so, and you are in the market for a high quality pair of noise canceling earbuds or headphones, these are absolutely the best option that I could find. Now, hopefully a lot of the issues that I had with Surface headphones are solved with Surface Headphones 2, which I hope to pick up in the near future. But as a Surface fan, I am glad that Microsoft is making an audio product, even if it doesn't really mesh with a lot of the products in their portfolio. But that's a conversation for another day. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the Surface headphones, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. See ya. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. There's one more video that I'm going to be making on the Surface headphones that should be unlike just about anything else that you've seen on YouTube. So be sure to get subscribed because that video is coming soon.